Welcome everybody to another meeting of UFO, Paranormal, More. I'm your host, Ray Alkaline. Before I say some things, because I met with my Fab Four Sunday morning, and I talked to somebody with CJ Muggs, and I understand everybody's doing it, but I'm going to be here for a long time. I'm booked till June of 2016. The main thing is by drinking a meal. Don't bring a soda or anything like that from the outside in. It makes me look bad. This came up, and it's actually on the flyer. Something I didn't realize on December 7th, which is my birthday, Dr. Sam Muggsy is speaking on my birthday, so I'll celebrate my birthday Sunday. Correa, you want to come up and say something about this movie?
About the Jupiter ascending?
Yeah, I'll say something about my Fab Four.
Ian and myself rented a movie called Jupiter Ascending. I don't know if you guys have watched that, but we just wanted to put it out there and recommend it because they have good examples on their reptilians. They also have what we think is pretty close to what George's Elephant Man on there as well. They have grays, and they have a lot of really good scenes in there with different effects that are probably pretty close to what some of the stuff is in real life as well. So if you want to kind of get a good idea, Jupiter Ascending is a really good movie to rent. So we just wanted to put a plug in there for that, and it'll give people a good idea of what's possibly out there and how things can be different on the head and how graduate to arms and legs and things like that as well from a lot of the drawings that Ray has as well. So that's just one I wanted to put a plug in for.
Yeah, very interesting movie.
Also, Correa and Ian are the ones that make my flyer, so I want to give them a little shout out. I got two new people here tonight, Lily and Denise. I want to welcome you guys. Welcome them too. I met with my Fab Four, and I know there's two people here, so I'll tell you who my Fab Four is. Usually meet them every 2 months for vital information. I've met with them over 55 years. It's a Circle Grays from the planet Circle. Marty, so looks just like us, and his wife. Of course, George, who's the famous Elephant Man from the 13th or 14th dimension. And my very first encounter, 12 years old, 1959, my little 3-inch humanoid buddies from the 5th and 7th dimension. These are the four I meet every 2 months. But in the situation of what's happening now, where we're going, it's days and weeks. And Oklahoma had a 4.6 today, and Kansas City had a 4.4 earthquake.
Oh.
To let everybody know what's going on, even the two new people, because I've been telling my people here. All the fault lines are all active. This has never happened before, okay? And then of course you got the Cabal, the bad people running the show down here with the HARP, CERN, and the new CERN. This new CERN is almost 3 times worse. My Elephant Man, George, who is in second command because I found out that Valiant Thor is #1. And he's got people in their places where they're supposed to be. The end of September, this Marian Kachi, he's a trainee for the artificial intelligence. This is something I brought up to Alfred Weber, he's a good friend of mine. He's a trainee. What was supposed to happen in October, the 23rd actually, we got 3 different weapons with lasers out in outer space. And one that actually you can see, United States Air Force, I think it's X-37B, and it actually had a laser pointing. It was supposed to be Arizona, Las Vegas, California, from the west to the east coast and some other states involved. So I had a meeting with them, and he put everybody in place, and that's when he told me this wasn't going to happen, because a lot of people were fearing September 23rd, okay? That was the main date. Out of your 7 biblical predictions, that was the main date that everybody was worried about, and nothing really happened. But these people are gonna try and do everything they can. Mother Earth hasn't come into the picture yet by doing her thing. Also, I think you were talking about this, Karen, Yellowstone got hit with a, I think it was a 4.4, and there was like a sinkhole. So I was talking to Dr. Sam Bugsy, who's a real good friend of mine. I've done like 15 radio shows where we talk every day. So I got to talking with George. He had come in because I have a code to use to bring him in for an emergency. And he went over there. They're going to be working on that and checking out that hole, if it's a sinkhole or whatever happened. I heard it was a hole not too far from the earthquake that was there. And as we go and move forward into November, you're probably going to hear this, I think it's November the 15th, if I'm wrong on this date, somebody correct me, 15 Days of Darkness. Anybody been hearing about that?
I don't know about that.
Now, our ETs, he's got so many, are going to be really out there for this too, because they get all this. And they're ready to go after even that United States Air Force weapon. They'll either disable it or make it disappear. It looks like a big syringe. I had somebody send me a picture of it.
Oh, that's a portal.
And then they're going to
Or not a portal.
do what?
I said that's, I actually sent that and asked the question. I believe that's, they do mining and they open up portals and send them
Well,
stuff
that,
through the,
I'm not saying, yeah, that's probably true too.
yeah, that's what it is. It looks
The
like
other
a
thing,
syringe
too, is-
coming off the sun.
Being that we're the United States, the first one to conquer outer space with a weapon conquers Russia and all the bad guys down here. Not saying what they're going to try and do with the bad ETs involved in this, and what they're going to do to our planet, because you know this is their last game. Okay, they're going to try and do everything they can to throw a wrench in this, but we're going to evolve like we're supposed to, and George and the good ETs are going to make sure we go through this. We got a lot of shaky ground to go through, but everything's going to work out. That's all I want to say there. Anybody got any questions before I introduce my
Yeah,
special
what's
guest?
causing this 15 days of darkness? Because I didn't see that.
Okay.
I saw Yellowstone blow up several
Saw
years
that.
back, but I was also told by the entities that it was going to burp now, thanks to
Well, it did. It was
some
a 4
cylinders.
point.
Well, they put cylinders. The ETs, you call them, put cylinders inside the ocean, one in the South Atlantic, and then they put another one up around, I want to say Siberia, to try to keep, because we're growing. We're growing by 5% the Earth as it has to.
Right.
And the only way that you can do that is by lava flow, you know?
Yeah.
It's got to grow.
It's going to get bigger and bigger, the new planet.
Yeah. And that's actually, I don't think that's a hole, it's a trench outside of Yellowstone, because
Yeah,
one
it's
sees the one
some
that
kind of
goes
hole they
outside.
seen. I
picture
don't know if it was a
long
Trench.
sinkhole.
It's a
It
trench.
opened up.
That was
And
mentioned.
They tried to say that it was from an underground waterway giving, you know, being dry and it give, but we all know what's going on here.
Right.
That volcano is a colossal one, and if it does blow up, then you might get a few months, not 15 days.
Okay.
And it would kill probably most people because your body, your chakras have to have the radiation from that sun to survive. That's why even if you go a week without sun, you start feeling it because your body, you know, that's part of your creation. And also that's the reason why the ETs, you call them, have dark eyes sometimes because they all have to wear shields on their eyes during when they're here because it bothers them really bad. Their
Right.
planets are self-sustained.
You'll hardly ever see them in the daytime. Hardly ever. Out of their
You know,
cradle.
you're right because yeah, it's to them it's radioactive. They're used to adjusted planets, you know.
Okay. And I called Jeannie Blankenship. Thanks, Karen. She'll be here about 25 or 20 minutes to 8. She's the one that does all my drawings. You'll meet her. I met with the Vulcans 2 weeks ago. I was on our craft. These guys they do have emotions. And, wait a minute. Andy, you can
Was Leonard Nimoy with him?
no,
Did you see him?
I know. Star Trek. They're really cool. And the leader there was 12 of them on a craft. And they fly in this big metallic ball with this black light going through half of it with these white lights. But the normal craft they're in is a flying saucer with 3 windows on the dome. What was neat about this incident with these guys, because I was hoping I'd get to meet them, because I met them in my apartment twice, and then finally I went to meet them in person, because they came out as a big white light. I sent it to some of my friends on Facebook and all that. But they were the first ones to ever give me hospitality and ask me, they call me Raymond anyway, would you like something to drink? I was floored. We got water and we got your coffee. And I said, coffee sounds good. And then he says, you hungry? We got your pizza. I really wasn't hungry, otherwise I would have ate the pizza. But I saw this Vulcan, there was these buttons on the wall. And he went over and pushed this button, pulled out this weird looking coffee cup, steaming. Puts it on this V-shaped table. The best coffee I ever drank. I had to go to the bathroom. And the leader, he was 6'2", because I'm 6 foot, and there was 2 other Vulcans following us. These guys are 5'7" and 6'2", pointed ears, black hair, in these brown jumpsuits with a green V. They're dark, real dark green, their skin. They got 4 fingers, they don't have the little finger at the end. They got teeth, they got a hell of a smile, and really got some emotions. Anyway, I was going over to this door when this Vulcan raised his hand, and this door opened, and I went inside. There was this weird commode. So I went in there and did my thing. I was looking around, there was no toilet paper. So I thought, oh my God, I'm in trouble. But anyway, this wonderful scent just took care of everything. It was awesome. And when I went to stand up and turn to the wall, it turned into a mirror. And then the door opens behind me, and there's all 3 of them, they're smiling and laughing. And I said, can I take this home with me? I can make millions. And he says, Raymond, you're going to be able to do this. Everybody on your planet will have this. So it was kind of cool. Then they took me back, and we talked some more. And they were telling me how they like the way I'm getting the information out to George and about them. And this is number 34. She'll be here tonight. And everybody get a copy. And then I'll have Ian put it on my Facebook. And I got sent it to Alfred and this and that. So I'm going to shut up. This gal that I met, she's unreal. She's went through a lot of shit in her life. She's an amazing healer. She's got a lot to tell you. She's really interesting. So I want you to give it up for my friend, Linda Emmanuel. Give me up, Patty.
Thank you for the introduction. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for coming. And part of my mission, I believe, is to get us to the dimensional shift. I always wondered why I was doing this, if we're going to go through the shift, and why am I doing this? We're all going to make it. But these people who control the planet, their main objective is to reduce the population in the world down to 500 million, in the United States down to 20 million. And probably since the 40s, they've been unleashing bioweapons on us. And one of the weapons I talk about, I gave everybody a handout, is this little known organism called Mycoplasma. And by the way, everybody who's viewing this video on YouTube, there'll be a link with all this handout on it. I'm going to give Ray the link, so you'll all be able to look at everything in this thing. There's a lot of information in this. I don't expect you to read it while I'm talking. But in 2001, I had a trauma, an emotional trauma, and within a couple days I was disabled with lupus, MS, Crohn's, fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis, and severe depression. In 2002 I was bedridden in the fetal position. And I have really strong faith in God and the Creator. And I knew something good was going to come out of something bad, but I didn't know what. And then on February 1st of 2003, I found out about this organism. And I thought it was a hoax on the internet. And I called up Donald W. Scott in Canada, and I said, is this a joke? How come doctors don't know about this? And it was not a joke. It was real. Back in 2003, you got about 50 results on Mycoplasma. That's Mycoplasma. It's a cell wall deficient bacteria. It's anaerobic, meaning it doesn't survive in oxygen. And so I had a curious mind. That's where I realized I got sick, and I wanted to know everything I could about this organism. It's the main cause of cancer and disease. It's not the only cause, it's the main cause. And it was unleashed on us in the 70s, and through recreational sex and riding on airplanes, it's spread into an epidemic now. We are in an epidemic of cancer and disease because cancer and disease are infections. That means microorganisms. It could be Lyme disease, it could be TB, it could be fungus, whatever. They're all infections. So I went up to Canada in '05 to a Mycoplasma conference that Donald W. Scott was hosting, and the researchers were there. And at the time, it was all doom and gloom. There was no treatment that could kill it because it's cell wall deficient. Antibiotics do not work against it. So they suggested I call around and look for a tetracycline IV, which could inhibit it. So I'm going to talk about the creator here. I put it out to the creator. I said, if you want me to help people, find me a treatment. I had a list of alternative doctors. I started calling around the country. Now remember, doctors don't know about it, about the organism. And a doctor down in Alabama said I've cured AIDS and chronic fatigue and diabetes. Well, I knew it was all Mycoplasma. By the way, AIDS or HIV is probably one of the first GMOs that they created, and they created AIDS from. Mycoplasma is AIDS, or a form of it. So I went down there and got 2 IVs of mild silver protein, knocked it right out. And then I had to heal my body because I was crippled, I couldn't walk, I was in a wheelchair. And it took a while to get my nerves healed because I had neuropathy, I had lesions in my brain, I had just all kinds of joint damage. So I built a website in '05, lindaemanuel.com, and started doing a lot of radio. And I didn't talk about the bioweapon because it was so negative and it turns people off. And people would make fun of me, and I just decided in '08 I was going to stop. I was just going to watch. So I sat back and watched from '08 to '13 as the epidemic grew and grew and grew. And by the way, the organism is triggered by trauma. Cancer and disease are triggered by trauma. And what happens is, when you have some kind of high stress, your body becomes acidic. It goes into fight or flight. The cortisone levels are raised. Your body becomes acidic. The organism is every one of us. It's just part of the breakdown process when you're dead. And it activates. And depending where everybody's genetically weak is where it first attacks you. Now, if you were a smoker, you smoke cigarettes, you're kind of protected. I'm not saying smoke, but tobacco is high in nitrogen, and nitrogen kills Mycoplasma. So usually when people stop smoking and they have some kind of stress or trauma, they get lung cancer. So I asked the creator, I said, how can I help? I'm watching this epidemic grow and grow, and people are dying. So I got the inkling to write a book, but I asked for a confirmation and got it. So it took me a year to write the book on this book. This is, by the way, the 2nd edition. It took me a year to write this book, all the things that kill Mycoplasma, how Mycoplasma works, how chronic fatigue works, why people get depressed, why. And then I wrote the 2nd edition about a year ago, and I explained heart disease in it, anemia, and by the way, you have all the handout with you about the heart disease, explains how the organism causes heart disease. So right now, I met Ray, and he invited me to the show, and I'm really grateful because there are ways to protect yourself from bioweapons. Some of the bioweapons that have been unleashed on us was Lyme disease. Lyme there's a picture of it in the brochure. Lyme disease is in a membrane, and that's why antibiotics do not work against Lyme. But the 2 protocols that do work against it knock it right out, and I'll talk about the protocols later. But that was a Legionnaire. Morgellons is a big one. I have something that can knock that out. There's all kinds of, I think there's going to be future bioweapons, and you just have to know how to protect yourself and how to eat, how to just know day to day and not live in fear, and know that you have a way to get well. So some of the things that kill Mycoplasma, one of the first things is, everything's in your brochure. When I started doing the book, I first discovered about a couple of years ago, Georgetown, Duke, and Vanderbilt did a joint study on Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is Mycoplasma. And half the patients wore a nicotine patch, and half wore a placebo. Now remember, doctors and scientists do not know about mycoplasma unless you're way up in the pyramid, like in the, really high up. Then you know about mycoplasma. But the scientists and the researchers, they may know about it, but they don't really understand it. So they did this joint study, and half the patients wore a 15 milligram nicotine patch, the other half wore a placebo. And at the end of 6 months, the ones who wore the placebo, they got worse. The ones who wore the patch, their memory improved and their health improved. Now the scientists say, well, it must be an enzyme. No, one of the things that kills mycoplasma is nitrogen, and tobacco is super, super, super high in nitrogen. Another one that is high in nitrogen that makes it anti-cancer is the cannabis, the hemp plant. Hemp is high in nitrogen. That is why the marijuana, now the bushy marijuana, the THC, that is a smoke screen. That is a diversion. So if people would find out that cancer and disease are infections caused by microorganisms, the system would fall apart. Because no longer would you need chemo, no longer would you need radiation. You just go in and kill the organism with some kind of treatment that kills it. And I'm going to talk about later about 2 protocols that just knock it right out, along with Lyme. It also knocks out Morgellons. And it's like a miracle, that I've been given all this information. And one of the big things right now I'd just like to touch on is, I can't tell people what to do, but right now they're putting prions in the flu vaccinations. The prions are mad cow disease, and they crystallize in the brain. This was the most devastating information I got of all. But right after I found out about this, Dr. Brent Wells in St. Louis calls me up out of the spur of the moment. He says, I have a formula that helps the body rid itself of the prions in the brain. And what they can do is these crystallized prions can be activated through frequency. So do not, if you can help it, do not let your loved ones or yourself get vaccinated. I know it's
What's a
tough.
prion? What is that?
Prion is mad cow disease. Creutzfeldt Jakob. There's a picture. If you look at this brochure, the very, very back page, it'll show you what a prion looks like. It's actually like a viral protein, and it causes the brain to get holes in it. And one of the formulas, this is Dr. Let's see. Oh, it's in the back. Dr. Wells invented a 8 herb formula that helps the body balance its organs and also helps the body eliminate the protein prions. This was the most devastating news I've had ever, about the prions, because the protocols I talk about don't kill the prions, but this formula helps the body rid of itself. But don't panic if you've had a vaccination since the 70s. Don't panic. It's you can get rid of them. So some of the protocols that kill it are the nitrogen. High nitrogen is marijuana, the hemp plant, hemp oil, hemp seed. Another one is the tobacco nicotine patch. What happens is the soil is acidic. Plants are the same as us. They rely on bacteria in the soil to break down their food. But there's also bad bacteria that attack the plant. So one of nature's way to protect the plants is nitrogen and sulfur. The cruciferous vegetables are high in nitrogen and sulfur. Garlic, that's why garlic's so anti-cancer. Berberine, which is a nitrogen-based phytochemical, and cinnamon, that's why cinnamon's anti-cancer. But there's some plants that are more anti-cancer or higher nitrogen than others. Like that bitterness in that carrot root, that's your nitrogen that you're tasting. Anything dark green is nitrogen. You want to, like wheatgrass, dark green, that's nitrogen. Nitrogen kills bacteria and fungus. And I have brought samples for free of Diatomaceous earth and Azomite. It's in the back. When you leave, you can pick up some. Another thing that kills it, like I said, is sulfur. Another thing that kills it is frequency, the Rife machine, Zapper by Hulda Clark. There's lots of ways to kill it. Apricot seeds are cyanogenic glycoside that kills the organism. There's an article in here about the cyanogenic glycosides, why Eskimos stay healthy. Do you want to hear the story why Eskimos stay healthy? Everybody, what determines your pH are minerals. And the reason people get themselves set up for disease is bacteria live in acidity, like our gut has to be acidic. But the only source of alkaline minerals that determine your pH are in fruits and vegetables, period. Eggs are neutral, meat's highly acidic. So if you're eating more acidic food than alkaline food, your tissues become acidic. But that doesn't mean you're going to get sick. It takes some kind of trauma to trigger mycoplasma to wake up or some virus to wake up. So, I lost my train of thought here. Okay, so, you got to stay alkaline. So there's a way to stay alkaline. You can get a detox machine. You could eat more. You can eat an 80% fruit and vegetable diet. That is why people reverse heart disease and cancer. They're eating more alkaline than acid. And alkaline and acid minerals bind and neutralize. So when you go on a plant-based diet, you're alkalizing your body, and 8.6 mycoplasma die. And you only want to get there at a certain point. Infrared, like Ray does, infrared kills it. Heat, if you can get your body temperature up to 140 degrees in one of those saunas or whatever you call them, that kills mycoplasma. There's lots of ways to kill it. Ultraviolet kills it, but there's a lot of easier ways to kill it. The way I got well, I'm not going to say cured because people can get sick again. You can get reinfected and end up being sick again if you don't watch your diet and you have a lot of recreational sex with the wrong people. You're going to get sick again because everybody out there, I would say 90% of Americans in the world are all sick. They might have asthma, they might have rheumatoid arthritis, they might have psoriasis, they might have leukemia. They have something that they're genetically weak. Diabetes is a big one. And what happens with hormonal, this organism, if you look at this picture, this organism is a cell wall deficient bacterium. It's just a DNA strand of the bacteria. It needs a host. It has no organelles, no cell wall. And this membrane is made of fat and a sugar. So where is the easiest place to find fat? In your endocrine system where you make hormones. Hormones are mostly fat. So if it gets into your pancreas and uptakes your cholesterol, you don't make insulin, you get diabetes. If it gets into your thyroid, you get Hashimoto. If it gets into your intestines and uptakes your cholesterol, you don't make endorphins, you get severe depression. You're not making melatonin, you can't sleep. You can't regulate your body temperature, that's hormonal. It's all related to mycoplasma. Look how many people are suffering from the depression right now, and they've got pretty good genetics as far as pretty strong tissue, but the organism is attacking in the endocrine system, and it's just eventually it will spread to some other organ or some area in the body, like breast cancer. Think about, I always say mycoplasma must have a male chromosome in it because it sure likes breasts, but breasts are mostly fat, so it causes breast cancer, it causes colon cancer, lung cancer, brain cancer. It's all mycoplasma. But there's easy ways to kill it. Nitrogen kills it. The treatment I got is called mild silver protein. And in April this year, I put it out to the creator. I said, if you want me to help people, find me a source of income. So I called the doctor up that got me well, and he said, I'm selling the silver now. And I said, can I sell it? He goes, sure. So now I sell mild silver protein, and it's about between 16,000 and 22,000 parts per million. And mild silver protein is different than colloidal. It's in a matrix of protein, so the protein's a carrier and goes into the cell and it kills the mycoplasma. And it's very stable, and it just knocks it out. I had just 2 treatments, and it knocked it out. And I sell this protocol, and there's about 4 different ways to take it. You can nebulize it, you can take it in the mouth, you can do the IV, or the latest one I have is where you do, we're all talking about sick here, so you can do an enema of it and retain it, and it absorbs right into the bloodstream. And that would be my choice if I had a way to do it right now, is because in the mouth it kind of stains the teeth and you have to scrub your teeth. I can't find doctors right now who are interested in doing the IV. They're so comfortable raking in the money, maintaining disease. Why should they change? And it's not illegal to buy the silver. I just tell people it's illegal to get you well. And it's, the FDA, you know about the FDA, you know about the FBI, they're all shutting everybody down, that gets people well. All these people who are dying, all probability they have been chipped. And I don't know if you know much about cloning or chipping. They have a chip about the size of a postage stamp, and they can put it in you, and they can monitor and regulate all your body vital functions and everything. And a lot of people, they'll turn the chip up and they'll have a heart attack. So a lot of these doctors have been chipped, and they're just like we were talking about Dave Chappelle. They can clone a person now in 3 months, and it's like it sounds unbelievable, but they can. Well, Dave Chappelle. Everybody know who Dave Chappelle is or was? Or,
No.
okay. Dave Chappelle is a black comedian. He made Sony about $500 million, and they only wanted to give him 50. And they wanted him to join the Brotherhood. Everybody knows what the Brotherhood is, what that means. The Brotherhood is the satanic brotherhood who controls everything, controls all of Earth. Well, he all of a sudden disappeared to Africa for a few months. And now he comes back and he's flashing the signs of the Illuminati. Well, he's been cloned. Oprah's been cloned for a long time. She's been done away with. There's lots of clones of her. And what they can do now, I hope this is okay to talk about this.
Yeah.
What they can do now is they call it soul transference. They can take your conscious memory with an encephalogram, and they can transfer your conscious memory into the clone. So that clone is you. But they always have to have a handler because they're acting. Remember when Michael Jackson was dangling that baby off the balcony? Mm-hmm. That was a clone. He was hurt really bad in the Pepsi commercial. He was burned up. And he was so disfigured, they cloned him. And that clone that died was the clone of Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson's still alive, but he's horribly disfigured. If you want to watch a good video on cloning, it's the truth about cloning. And they don't want that information out because people would start panicking. There's about 8 countries that clone, and Russia's one of the big ones. They're doing artificial cloning now. And clones do not have souls, so a demon can enter them or whatever. But Bernie Mac was cloned, and he was chipped, and they turned his chip up because he was coming out with information about the chipping and the cloning. And Robin Williams was another one they did away with. Whitney Houston. So you do not want to be chipped with this postage stamp size chip because they can control your vital organs.
How do they clone people? I mean,
Okay,
people
that's
don't willingly go in to say, hey, chip me.
Well,
So how do they do
when
it?
you're a really big asset to them, a really big asset, like somebody like Dave Chappelle, they chip you first and then they clone you. And when they chip you, they control you because then you know they can just turn your chip up and you're dead.
But do they know they're being chipped and
Right.
cloned?
How do
If they want to join the Brotherhood of Satan or the Brotherhood, the Cabal, they want to be big in Hollywood, they want to be big on radio, they want to be big on TV. They have to join and they have to get chipped.
So they're making a willing, conscious effort to join.
If they want to be part of what's going on, if they want the fame and the riches, they
But do
clone
they
you.
know that that's part of it? That by making that choice, that's what's going to happen to them?
They have to, or they'll be murdered, and they know it. Like for instance, Bernie Mac, he was cloned and chipped, and he was saying, "Hey, I want to tell people about this," and they turned his chip up, and he went to the hospital and had a heart attack. They usually get you with a heart attack.
But they killed the clone, not the.
No,
if
they actually.
If they clone you, and that part gets confusing.
Well, like, okay, if they clone you, they can control you,
They
they can
kill
keep you, they usually, well, a lot of times they take the real person underground as a prisoner and the clones above, and they use that person's brain, or they just keep them hostage, and the clone is the one that you see, and the clones are total robots, they have no soul, no emotions, whatever. Go ahead. Mike.
So the real Bernie Mac is still alive, being held prisoner?
No,
or
he's
something?
dead. He's died. They actually killed him, so he's dead. He's dead. Yeah, but Michael Jackson's still alive. And he's just horribly disfigured.
So how do they transfer the consciousness? You said they can transfer consciousness into the clone. So then wouldn't the original person die without a consciousness?
No.
What happens to them?
No, they're still there, and they can feel what the clone's going through. like Oprah's been cloned for a long time. She's no longer with us. There's about 5 or 6, 8 clones of her. They look a little bit different. What they do is, if you watch a movie called The Boys from Brazil,
Yeah,
and you can watch that for free on YouTube, just plug it in. What they do is they take probably a fertilized egg. They kill the fertilized egg nucleus with infrared. They take that out. They insert your total DNA into that egg. Then they have to put it into a host. But they can speed up the growth process with pituitary hormones, and they can clone you now in 3 months instead of a couple years.
So then they kill the original, like Oprah, the original Oprah, the human Oprah, they killed her.
Well, she wanted to get out.
Did they kill her?
You don't get out alive.
Right, so they killed her. Okay. And so, okay.
And then Whitney Houston
Some
wanted
they
to
kill,
get out.
but some they don't kill.
It just depends if they're being cooperative. You know,
Okay.
if they say, I want out, and you're done. You're not gonna, and if they kill your clone or you, then they can't bring you back, you know. A lot of these people like Saddam Hussein, Gaddafi, they were all clones. And they were kind of playing with us, you know, that's what the information about. So I really highly recommend watching about cloning and about chipping. And just go on YouTube and plug in cloning, and you'll get some really good videos. And watch The Boys from Brazil. They cloned Hitler. And yeah, so it was great. So is there any questions about what I've talked about so far?
There was a movie not that long ago called Selfless. You may see that. And it's about consciousness transference.
Soul transference?
Yeah, and soul transference, so that if you want to be immortal before you die, you can transfer this to another human being and then carry on as that person.
Yeah, but they
It's
can't.
one of the many disclosure movies, just like Jupiter Ascending, of what they can do now.
They cannot transfer your soul your soul memory, just your conscious memory.
Just your conscious
Just
memory.
on, your
Okay.
conscious, just who you are. And they also, when they chip
That's true.
you, this is really weird. I was out in California in September. I was in a cancer conference, and I met a man. It was platonic, and his name was Lewis. And he had gone to the hospital, and they chipped him. And he was real sensitive. He knew he was chipped. And we met, and we're talking, and these 2 black helicopters flew right over us. And he said, and then when I was standing there talking to him, it was broad daylight, I started going to sleep twice. And he goes, yeah, they do that. They can send this wave out and make you sleepy. And he thinks why they chipped him involuntarily is because he might be doing something in the future, sort of like Terminator, where Terminator comes back to kill that young man. They saw in the future he might be doing something. So they really regulate him. They zap him. If he says the wrong things, they zap him. And I was fascinated, but that's how I got into learning about cloning, was through this guy named Lewis. I'd never made contact with him again. Go ahead.
Is there a way that normal people that have not been cloned, as far as they know, like in this room right now, is there a way that you can, something that you can look for to tell
If you've
if
been
there's a
chipped.
clone in the room? Because I think Ray might be a clone.
Or chip. How can we tell if we've been chipped?
How can you tell if you've been chipped?
My own safety, I will not, unless I will not go in a hospital and stay overnight, because they can come in and they can chip you. And then once they chip you, like right now they're making it so policemen are getting chipped to be able to fire a gun. Now think about it.
Mhm.
If that policeman's standing there aiming at a crowd and he says, I can't shoot this crowd, that's my neighbor. Well, they could turn his chip up and kill him. Because they can monitor, when you're chipped, they can hear your thoughts. I don't know how that, it's an ET technology that they've given to these people.
Yeah.
But how would a person know if they've been chipped or not?
Oh, you would know it.
How?
Well, these chips are about the size of a postage stamp. They're not a little cylinder like you think.
So they'd be
They're not in a
under-
vaccination.
They cut you and implant the chip, so you would know because you have a scar?
Well, Lewis had one all over. He had different ones all over his body, but they didn't know it. But he was real sensitive that he knew where they were, and for some reason, this is kind of getting into Lewis' story. But for some reason, they have these next door neighbors are demonically possessed, and they just scare the heck out of him all the time. Now he must be going to be doing something in the future that they don't want. But they could, if they wanted to, they could turn the chip up and knock him right out.
So how prevalent in the medical field? I mean, is this like
Everywhere.
every
doctor,
hospital
so you
everywhere, or
don't
is
know
it just
which
certain
hospital.
ones or regions?
Well, I
mean,
can't, I wouldn't risk your life, not, I would, if you're somebody of importance, or you're gonna be doing something like Ray, I would tell Ray, stay out of the hospital, Ray. They'll chip you, you know, you don't know. They could be watching you and ask your ETs, you
I
know,
told you.
Question about, oh.
it's okay.
In terms of, like you say, Ray, stay out of the hospital.
Well, if you can,
Stay healthy.
yeah.
What about, like Ray said before, he's got some powerful backing. If you feel like that you have that powerful backing, I'm not saying risk
Well,
it,
they
but
might
I'm
know
just
how to
saying,
take the chip out. I don't know how it's taken out.
but I'm just saying if you're like, Ray's people, I feel like, in a way they're watching over all of us just because we're involved with Ray. And I know I have some extra protection too,
Yeah.
thanks to some information I
Except for
found.
Andy, he's chipped.
Right.
But
Well,
They're
it
right.
kind of got off on this subject, but this is my pet peeve lately, is the cloning and the chipping.
But
Yeah.
do you think that the evil cabal, whether you want to call them the Satanists, whatever you want to call them, are they aware, or do they fear that backing? Like, they know that there's benevolent ETs that are watching over some people,
Yeah.
and is it a situation, do you think, to where they're like, we can't mess with them, or we shouldn't mess with them because that'll draw too much attention to us, and if the good ATs come after us, we have no power over them?
You know, that's something spiritual I can't answer because that's individually, but I feel protected. You know, like, as long as I don't do something stupid.
Well, exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
you don't want to walk out and do something stupid. I mean, you got to use your common, and you got to learn about these people, especially if you're going to be out there in the spotlight. You've got to know what's going on.
Don't you think that's kind of what's going on right now? The Cabal is aware that there's a spiritual awakening and we are ascending or whatever you, and so they're very fearful. So right now they're working like crazy.
Well, they know the game's over.
Right,
And
exactly.
They're going to
do
go out
everything
kicking and
they
screaming.
That's why the Pope the Pope coming to the United States and meeting with Congress, that is all part of it.
Symbolic.
can.
Yeah.
Yes.
He gave his signals out when he was on.
Yeah, but just be aware, and if you can help it, don't go in the hospital. But if you're just a regular person, you're just kind of moving along, they're not going to fool with you. It's just that if you're going to do something in the future, that's very important. And if you're very, very wealthy, they kind of swoop down on you. Like if you are very rich, and they're going to want that, like Oprah, she no longer exists. All her dynasty, and you know, if you take, what is it called, OWN, if you reverse that, it's New World Order. It's kind of simple. They love symbolism.
Are you gonna talk about this other stuff as well?
Yeah, so did you want to learn about the mild silver protein? I had 2 treatments of mild silver protein. It knocked out the mycoplasma.
Yes.
Another thing that knocks out the mycoplasma is nitrogen-based, and I can't give the number out on the video where to get the nitrogen, but just see me and I'll give you the source. Bloodroot is real high in nitrogen. That reverses stage 4 cancer. The mild silver protein knocks out the mycoplasma. One thing about when you have a tumor, you know, people get the bacterial plaque on the teeth. You know, that's bacterial, right? Well, mycoplasma, they're not stupid. They colonize. Every cell in your body is held together with protein. So they adhere to each other with protein. They adhere to the host. And they build a biofilm plaque over themselves to protect themselves from the immune system. So the silver and the bloodroot, that doesn't take care of the plaque. What takes care of plaque is, there was a Dr. Beard back in the 1800s who discovered enzyme therapy. And he didn't know about mycoplasma, was discovered in 1898, and it was in the 1890s. And he discovered that the cytoblast, the human egg, when it's fertilized, it acts like a cancer cell. There's a lot of protein receptors on the baby, or the cytoblast, the egg, because it has to adhere to the uterus to grow. And he noticed that if the cytoblast didn't stop spreading, which becomes a placenta, it would form a tumor and the baby and the mother could die. So he noticed that at the 54th stage, I think it's about the 54th day, the baby becomes a fetus, or the egg becomes a fetus, and it starts secreting trypsin, which is an enzyme, and that stops the cytoblast from growing anymore, and the tumor doesn't form. So he said to himself, he noticed that the cancer cell is surrounded in protein. And he said, I wonder if I do enzyme therapy, will it cure cancer? So he started doing the trypsin, and the cancer was, I'm going to say the word cured. Well, at the same time, Madame Curie was inventing radiation, and the medical establishment rejected his treatment. But Dr. Gonzalez, who was killed recently, he was a big enzyme. So what happens is the mycoplasma, that's the cancer cell, the protein around the cancer cell, is bacterial plaque. So enzyme therapy, like in the sea minerals, I sell this, or you can just take papayan extract. That'll help break down the protein shield around the cancer tumor. Because I can let you see it.
So Linda, just to
Oh,
talk,
sea minerals.
mycoplasmas have always been here. They just were used.
They were, it's a very, when they give you steroids, they shut your immune system off, and the mycoplasma can spread everywhere, you don't know it. But it's been around since creation. Florence Nightingale came back with a mycoplasma infection from the, what was it, the Boer War? She caught it from the soldiers. But she got well because back then they had naturopath, they had the hemp, and they had just different naturopath doctors. And she was probably bedridden for a while, but she got well. Mycoplasma's been around since the creation. It's a second dimensional being. What happens is when we go through this shift coming up, I don't know when it's going to be, our vibration, the organisms will not be able to survive in our higher vibration. But right now they can survive in the third dimensional, and that's what the big concern is, to get you to the shift, where you stay alive, and then your body can heal itself. When you're in the fifth or fourth or sixth, seventh, eighth dimension, you'll be, the organism will die. It can't handle that vibration. But right now, it can, yeah, go ahead.
So that is for the mycoplasm?
This
Or
helps
this-
you break down a tumor.
Oh.
Remember the protein around a tumor is mycoplasma plaque. The artery, the plaque in the arteries is mycoplasma.
Okay.
And I gave you a handout in here about how heart disease works, about how it forms and what happens, and this organism is really pesky. But just some papayan enzyme will help break the tumor down. The one thing I would really caution people is when you start breaking down the tumor, I can't tell you what to do because I'm not a doctor, but I would take some kind of precaution where you don't get clots, like a little baby aspirin, something that helps keep the blood moving. There is also, this is another mineral. It has hawthorn in it. You want to take hawthorn, that helps with the circulation. These are sea minerals, and Brock out in Colorado, I work with him. It's just another product, but I also have back there a free sample of Azomite. Azomite is the poor man's mineral. You can take that, put that in a smoothie, it's free. There's Diatomaceous earth back there that kills parasites. You can have samples of that for free. I really recommend Diatomaceous earth. Diatomaceous earth is silica dioxide. It helps rebuild your joints and your collagen and your bones and your skin. Silica is the main, you need it to absorb minerals, silica. And diatomaceous earth, the food grade, it's back there if you'd like some.
Okay.
So, go ahead, you have a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, what do you think of, I'm taking all this in, by the way, but. I just
It's a
wonder what
lot,
you-
it's gonna be a lot.
You said something about mycoplasms not being able to exist with oxygen.
Yeah.
What do you think of
Anaerobic.
food grade peroxide in distilled water?
I use that a lot.
Peroxide, H2O2, that's
It's
what our,
food grade peroxide.
Food
That's
grade, right. It's
gotta be
I've heard
that.
a lot, like, I think, my own opinion, I think an IV of it would be too dangerous.
Oh, no, you drink this, you
drink
put 10
it,
drops in a
drops
gallon.
of water.
Yeah, you could. H2O2 kills, that's what one of the things, that's why vitamin C therapy works. Mycoplasma are anaerobic. They do not use oxygen for metabolism. Like we use oxygen When we breathe, the reason we breathe is carbohydrate. Well, I'm trying to be basic here. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. Plants use carbon, they use hydrogen, but we cannot use, when we're breaking down a carbohydrate, we cannot use carbon or hydrogen. We have to eliminate it from the body. That's where the oxygen comes in, CO2, H2O, leaves the body. Now mycoplasma dies in the presence of oxygen like MMS or whatever that is, MMS, that Jim Humboldt, ClO2. Well, mycoplasma uses iron for metabolism. And what happens is when you have a crime, and this is really a crime, what's going on now. What happens is when you have a chronic infection or cancer or disease, the body knows that this organism is attacking you. And with the cytokines being released and the inflammation, the liver secretes hepcidin. It's a hormone that tells the macrophages, your little gobbledygobs of your immune system, which recycle the red blood cells and are the keepers of the iron. That hormone tells the macrophage to hold on to the iron. Do not release it. We have an infection. Because mycoplasma cannot function without iron. So people who are sick with cancer and disease, they become anemic even though they have iron in their body. It's not being released. So what do doctors do? A lot of doctors, they give you IVs of iron. They give you live blood. That is just like throwing gasoline on the fire. You got to kill this organism to get well. So how vitamin C works is this. In the cancer cell, it's anaerobic because the organism doesn't use oxygen, but there's iron in that cell and there's copper in that cell and it's acidic. So vitamin C is actually a modified glucose, but our body cannot, we don't have the genes to process it, so we have to ingest it. But if you would ingest a lot of vitamin C, it would just cause you to have diarrhea. So what happens when you get an IV of vitamin C, mycoplasma turns sugar into lactic acid. It sucks up that sugar, that glucose. It thinks it's sugar, which it is. And since there's no oxygen in the cell, it starts interacting with the iron, and it starts building up H2O2, H2O2. And then eventually the organism explodes. And when a macrophage eats a mycoplasma or a pathogen, there's H2O2 inside that macrophage that kills the organism. Oxygen kills it. So that's why vitamin C therapy works. But vitamin C is very hard on the veins. You know, when you get massive doses of vitamin C, it's tough on the arteries or the veins, you know, when you're putting it in your body. And you have to have massive amounts of it for the H2O2 to accumulate.
So how can you tell, like I know when I go to natural foods, how can you tell if something is not synthetic? Because I think the vitamin industry has been putting things in there to dull or remove your pituitary gland from functioning properly. So how can you tell if something is synthetic or if it's natural? How can you?
What I've learned from Brock Lynch, who does the sea minerals, our body is more lacking in minerals than vitamins. And if you're really deficient in minerals, and the sea minerals we're in one with, he claims you could put seawater in your veins and survive and live because it's the same chemistry. So I have back there Azomite, A to Z of trace minerals, and that's it's from Utah, and it was a seabed and a volcanic eruption. It has every single mineral and element your body needs. The FDA has not approved it for humans, but they okayed it for animals and organic gardening. And it's in my book about Azomite, but when they give it to chickens, the eggs are harder. When they give it to animals, they're healthier. When they give it to plants, the plants don't need any insecticide, because if your plant's only as good as the soil, and when you have sufficient nitrogen in the soil that's natural, the plant puts enough nitrogen in itself that if a bug would bite on it, or a fungus, or a bacteria, it would die. So if you have a really healthy plant that has all the sufficient minerals, then you don't need pesticides because it will take care of itself. So Azomite is real cheap. I get it on Amazon. It's like $1 a pound. You can put it on your plants, it'll go crazy. So I call it the poor man's minerals.
In terms of the azomite, would you suggest, if we're going to do planting, and when it comes to the spring, if we do planting, would you suggest putting it in with the soil when we plant?
Yeah.
And then how
It's-
do you take it? Would you just,
I put it in a smoothie or just, it's ground up, it's powderized. I mean, it's like baby powder. It's back there. Well, right here.
I guess you can put it in water and drink it too.
It's pink, yeah, it's pink. See, like Himalayan pink salt?
right.
This is like the poor man's,
And how much would you consume of it?
I just do a teaspoon or half a teaspoon at a time.
Okay.
And it's,
Like once a day, or?
well, I brought a whole bunch for people to take
No, I'm
home.
saying you would take it like once a day.
Yeah, and it's all your minerals.
Any side effects from taking it?
I have people that are hooked on it. They're like, I gotta have it. You know, they're not like hooked, like, you know, addicted, but they're just like mentally thinking it really helps them. And it's not gonna help overnight, but in the long run. That's why I like Diatomaceous earth too. It kills parasites,
Tried
it
that.
reduces, I know. It'll cause a detox, it'll kill fungus. So you wanna look at this?
So are tapeworms and parasites the same kind of ilk as the mycoplasmas?
What kills the parasites really good is bloodroot. I have a, what is it, I don't like to talk, shouldn't talk about this on national YouTube.
When you don't
No,
want.
no, I'm not gonna talk about it, but I have a friend who has Mycoplasma really bad. And please do not sleep with your animals, please, unless they've been diatomaceous earthed, because animals carry parasites. Now this gal had a sick dog, she was really sick with Mycoplasma for 9 years. She didn't know it, but the dog had to be put away, it was so sick that he couldn't get it well. Well, when she started doing the bloodroot, and long spaghetti worms were coming out, and she's freaking out. She's killing all these worms with the bloodroot. Bloodroot will knock out the tapeworms, the whatever those organisms are. The silver, I don't know if it would kill a tapeworm or not, because it doesn't go through your intestinal tract like the bloodroot. Bloodroot's, ginger's real high in nitrogen, and it's got zinc in it, and berberine or bloodroot. It's an old Indian native cancer treatment. The bloodroot only grows on the eastern side of the United States and kind of marshy.
Does it kill parasites too?
Oh yeah, the bloodroot will knock it out. I've got it, I can pass it around, I got a sample of it.
This is that too.
You wanna look at it? This is bloodroot. You put it in a capsule yourself. You can open it, as long as you don't start.
Let them see this. Pass it around.
We have bloodroot at our place, and I've seen it, but.
You have it, you ought to make it.
But how do I make it, that's what I'm saying.
I could find out how to make it, because it's like, oh my gosh, it knocks out stage 4 cancer.
Really?
Yeah. The gal I get it from in Texas, she learned how to make it from the authentic way. Because some people put sorrel in it, some people put other things in it. You want to do the ginger root, the zinc, and the bloodroot. And actually you're ingesting the bloodroot. You're actually ingesting it. You're not, you know, like in nicotine patch, they extract the alkaloids. Alkaloids are nitrogen-based, CHNO. They extract it, but you're actually ingesting the bloodroot itself. One of the cancer treatments I'm going to be working on and finessing, I'm doing the 3rd edition, is just a plant out in your backyard. And they already use it for cancer, two of them. This plant has, the highest plant that has the most nitrogen, does anybody want to take a guess?
Dandelions?
No. Opium. Nitrogen affects your nervous system. Opium is the #1, the highest nitrogen plant. The second is probably Vinca minor. Has anybody heard of periwinkle, Vinca minor? Vinca minor has over 86 nitrogen-based phytochemicals in it. Now it's in the same family as oleander. Oleander is an ancient biblical cancer treatment. And you have to make it a certain way. You have to boil off the alkaloids. Alkaloids are CHNO, nitrogen-based chemicals. And I'm going to be working on it. My aunt's got a whole big patch of Vinca minor. And I'm going to be working on that to try to come up with my own solution so people can, you can actually, there's a lot of things in your yard you can have that are anti-cancer, that are high in nitrogen. Dandelion root has cyanogenic glycosides in it. It forms cyanide, that's why the apricot pits work. When the amygdalin goes into the cancer cell, it'll kill the organism. That's what we were trying to think of before about the cyanogenic glycosides, why Eskimos stay healthy. You wanted me to stop?
No. We was talking about apricots, because that's the
Amygdalin.
my guys gave me a teaspoon of baking soda, apricots, and the seeds. That would cure my cancer. But go ahead about the Eskimos.
Okay, now remember I was talking about the alkalinity, you have to stay alkaline to keep the organisms, they live in acidity and they die at 8.6. Your body has to be between 7.25 and 7.45. 7 is neutral, anything below 7 is acidic, anything above 7 is alkaline. So Eskimos, how do they eat? They don't have gardens, they don't have fruit trees. They eat what, blubber, fish? You know, they're like living on an ice pack, you know. So how in the heck do they stay healthy? How do they keep from getting cancer and die? Well, when I was researching cyanogenic glycosides, God has made a way. All the grasses around the world contain a lot of them contain amygdalin, which is your cyanogenic glycosides, which you know, everybody knows what the ruminant is. It chews a cud. Well, when these ruminants chew the grass, they're breaking down the cell wall of the green grass because, you know, wheatgrass, you have to juice it. You have to break open that cell wall to get that released. So all around the world on the plains are these grasses. The ruminant chews the cud, breaks down the cell wall. The first thing a predator will eat is the rumen, the contents of the rumen, which are the greens. Because it knows how many times you've seen a sick animal eat grass. Okay, so a bear will kill a ruminant and just eat the greens and abandon the rest. So one of the favorite foods of the Eskimo is the contents of the caribou stomach, the greens. That's how they stay well. Those cyanogenic glycosides and that green grass that the caribou has broken down for them. They consider it like a delicacy, a salad. So that's how they stay, that's how they survived all these eons without gardens, without fruit trees. They eat the grass. It's fascinating, you know. But the cyanogenic glycosides, it forms, and it only, also everything in your body is enzymes. Your body does not make the enzyme to form the cyanide. You know, cyanide kills. The only one that makes that enzyme to turn it into cyanide is the microorganism that's inside that cancer cell. Otherwise, it'll just pass right through your body. Nothing. Does anybody get a question?
Hey, that reminds me about charcoal has something to do with that. Have you ever heard of Willard water? The guy, doctor in South Dakota, makes 60 minutes did a big special on him. He says you can drink this, you can pour it on your burns. It does all kinds of neat stuff.
60 minutes.
And it's charcoal?
Part of it's charcoal. He's got other weird things in it too. He mixes it up and yeah.
Charcoal, that's interesting. I know there's a product I met at Ray's birthday party. I met a woman that sells a product called SorBAC, S-O-R-B-A-C-T. And they use it in wound clinics for, you know, diabetics and Mycoplasma. They can't heal. They're short on arginine. They're under attack. You have trouble healing. Okay. SorBAC, S-O-R-B-A-C-T, you might want to write that down. S-O-R-B-A-C-T. It's a product this gal, I can't remember her name, she sells it. So I'm a curious mind, I want to know, you put it on the wound, it heals right up. And she told me you only can get it through a wound clinic, but you can get it on Amazon, I checked it out. Then I read a really good article why SorBAC works. What happens when you put silver on a wound, the bacteria and everything, they die on it, and the body just rejects it, and it can't heal, even though you're killing the organism. But the SorBAC, you put a patch on it, the SorBAC, bacteria live in moisture. The SorBAC draws the organism into the patch, and it allows your wound to heal. It's sort of like drops of water on a spider web. It sucks up the organism, and the organism doesn't accumulate and die on the wound. It's being, and you have to change the dressing every day.
So is it like a cream or what?
It's like a
powder?
no, like a patch.
A pouch?
It's like a
With
patch.
with some medication in
Well,
there.
it doesn't have any medication.
No, but I mean, it's something in there, it's not just the material.
It's drawing up the bacteria, because bacteria need moisture, and it just draws up the bacteria away
What-
from the
but
wound
what
so it can
is-
heal.
So, when, so does this, do they put something in the patch, and the patch?
The patch
The
is-
patch itself?
It's something to do with electricity, and the organism is being drawn into the patch, and it's not on the wound, and the wound can heal naturally.
You can buy this on Amazon?
I saw it. There's different size patches. I didn't think you could, but it is on Amazon. It's not super cheap, but the smaller, you only need a patch like that. They have big patches, little patches, but it draws, just like the moisture, it draws the organism into the patch, and the organism is stuck on that patch, and it's not on the wound, and the wound can heal.
Can you cut them to whatever size you need?
Yeah, they have like big, little, you know. Now my aunt, she's been putting the minerals on, she's got a wound on her ankle bone, which doesn't get blood circulation. She's been using I have an ointment with the minerals, and that's been healing her up. So she's got it all closed. She could never keep it closed because the bacteria die off, and it would just, yeah, so that's why SorBAC works. And did anybody ever hear of Carnivora?
Yeah.
Carnivora is, when President Reagan was president, he got colon cancer in the White House, but they kept it secret. He would not do chemo, he would not do radiation. But they heard about this product called Carnivora. It was in Germany or whatever, over in Europe, but it was illegal to bring it in. But he brought it in. I'm going to say the word cure, because it's faster. He got over the colon cancer. And then when I was doing my book, I wanted to know why this Carnivora worked. Now this organism right here, this membrane of Mycoplasma, is made out of a lipopolysaccharide, a fat and a sugar, lipopolysaccharide. Now the Carnivora is made from the Venus flytrap plant.
Right.
And one of the phytochemicals in the Venus flytrap is a lipopolysaccharide. So what happens is, this is a natural enemy to the immune system. When it comes in contact with this, it goes into a feeding frenzy. But the lipopolysaccharide turns on the immune system, and it goes under attack, looking for this little guy. So that's why Carnivora, I mean, you know, that's one of the reasons Carnivora is it activates the immune system. But this is a natural, this is called an endotoxin. And what happens when you start going through kill-off, the organism, when it dies, it releases the endotoxin, the membrane. Remember, the immune system responds to a lipopolysaccharide. So then you start getting chills and fever, and you might get a backache, you might get a headache. You're going through what they call Herxheimer. Herxheimer is kill-off. And usually Herxheimer only lasts a couple hours. I went through, when I got my IVs of silver, I went through about 2 hours of kill-off. You know, like, that's what's happening when you have the flu and you're going through chills and fever. That's your body responding to the toxins the organism, when it dies, is throwing off. And your immune system is responding to those toxins that are either bacterial or viral. And I'll talk a little bit about Lyme. I don't know if you knew this. Lyme was a bioweapon. But Lyme, one of the easy things about Lyme disease, and the silver and the bloodroot knock it out, one of the reasons is the Lyme is a spirochete corkscrew. It does not have a cell wall, and that is very important because antibiotics do not work against Lyme disease. It takes 5, 6, 7, 8 years because it has no cell wall. It's a membrane. But the silver knocks out Lyme, and so does bloodroot, nitrogen-based products. And Lyme is a sister to syphilis, which tells you now Lyme is being spread through recreational sex. And it's becoming an epidemic around the world.
So can you talk a little bit about with the mycoplasma and what kind of treatment would be a typical treatment? For instance, I've got fibromyalgia, I've got diabetes, I've got arthritis, I've got a whole number of different
If I
things.
was sick, again, I would do, it depends how sick you are. One bottle, 8 treatments is $100. And I had 2 treatments that knocked it out, but I had an IV. The best way I think to take it now is through the,
Nebulizer.
no, is I can get these from Brock out in Colorado. These are used with horses. And these are your syringes. You put a little plastic tube on there. You put the silver in there with a little bit of distilled water, and you insert it in the colon. Of course, your colon is, cleaned out. And then you hold it in there, and the colon just helps disperse it to the blood. Really, really good. So this is I highly recommend this way.
Do they have smaller syringes?
No, look how, look at how small that is. Look how small that is. And it's attached, and this,
It's not the whole thing, just the
You
little
don't put
part.
the,
no.
No!
I was gonna
Oh,
say.
it's gonna give your colon the worst
Oh,
yell
I
you ever
see.
had.
Pass it around.
Pay a lot of money? That's right.
Can you speak
Oh
for
my
like on a maintenance?
That was a good question.
Is there,
Well, you gotta be worried, you only,
Treatments.
that's exit, not entrance,
For $100, it's enough for 8 treatments.
And that should
Like
do
she
it.
tells you to come home and sit
Well,
down.
it depends how sick you are.
Okay.
If you're really, really sick. And also, I'll tell you a story. I did a talk out in Clayton about a month ago, and there was a gal there. She was so sick. I'm not going to say names or anything. She was on her deathbed. She brought in all these supplements. She was spending $5,000 on antifungals. She had Lyme. I knew she had Mycoplasma, but she didn't know about Mycoplasma, neither did her doctors. But she was like on her deathbed. And this is the silver, and I put one little drop in a glass of water, about like that. She drank it and held it in her mouth, and she could feel all the bacteria dying. She did it twice, but then she bought a bottle. And what happened was, remember I was telling you about Herxheimer, and how sick she was? She went through massive kill-off. She shouldn't have done the protocol like 20 drops, or she should have started off with like 3 drops. Because the Herxheimer, if you're really, really, really sick, you're going to go through some massive kill-off. And the kill-off's worse than being sick because you're going through all that. So I tell people, there's a gal out in Colorado. She lives high elevation. You don't want to be in high elevation with a mycoplasma infection because think about it, high elevation, less oxygen, it activates. She can only do 3 drops at a time, and now her hormones are working, but she's still fighting it because she's been sick for 25 years. And I tell her, Sally, you got to get out of that high elevation for a while so you can lick it, so she can only do 3 drops at a time, and then she has to give herself baking soda enemas to detox, to pull the toxins out. So if you're really sick, you got to do detox. You got to detox right afterwards to get, if you're really, really sick. So the gal that, she ended up going to the hospital, and so we're real careful now about who we sell it to. It wasn't going to kill her, but she went through so much kill-off that she went to the hospital because she was really, really sick. She spent like $10,000 going to doctors and down in Texas, and here the treatment was only $100, and she was, but it knocks out Lyme pretty fast, the silver. I need to call, does anybody, this is the silver.
is the mycoplasma in its base form, is there only one type? Or
No, that's a good question.
Is
There's
it
about-
morph into what it attacks?
Bacteria can change shapes, but this is actually a classification of a bacterium. There's about 200 different mycoplasmas. Some attack plants, some attack animals, some attack your joints, some love neuro. The one that was the bioweapon is called Mycoplasma fermentana incognito. It loves nerves because nerves are wrapped in myelin sheath, and myelin sheath is fat. That's why people get the MS. That's why the Alzheimer's is 75%. 75% of your brain is fat. It loves fat. So it gets into the brain. It's the smallest living organism, smaller than a virus. It's just a DNA strand of this bacterium, and it can cross the blood-brain barrier real easily.
So, is the various diseases like cancer or tumors,
Most of the time.
they're basically the
Mycoplasma.
result of a,
And you ask anybody who's sick, have you had a trauma or high stress? They'll say, yeah, I was in a car accident, I had a divorce, I lost my job. It's a trauma. They become acidic, the organism wakes up. And depending where they're genetically weak is where you first get attacked. And then it metastasizes. It just, what it wants to do, it just wants to break your body down. It thinks you're dead. You know, it's part of the breakdown when you have no oxygen in your body, it'll activate. And what's really something is, as a person's getting sicker and sicker, less and less red blood cells are carrying the iron, right? Less and less oxygen in the body. And the organism monitors your oxygen, your pH, and your immune system. So the less oxygen in your body, the more it'll speed up. And the more sugar, these doctors tell, oh, feed your patient ice cream and pasta, we gotta put some weight on them. Well, that's all sugar. It's sucking in that sugar. And then what happens is they call it the Cachexia cycle. The organism turns sugar into lactic acid. Lactic acid travels to the liver converts it back into glucose, goes right back to the cancer cell, and it just speeds it up. And then the other cells are being starved. So once you get into that spiral, you know, of the low oxygen and you know, sugar and yeah, it speeds it up.
So, basic biology science question for you.
I hope I can answer it. I'm not a scientist. I'm not
I
a
understand that. In terms of the mycoplasma and everything else, basic, we've always heard, I mean, it's really common knowledge, that viruses, you know, you can do antibiotics, you know, even though that antibiotics may be bad or good depending and all that. But they've always said viruses, we can't really kill viruses because they're dormant most of the time, and then whatever reason when they're active, we can't do anything about them. You can only treat symptoms if it's a virus. What does mycoplasma actually have to do with most viruses, or is that a completely separate thing?
Mycoplasma is not a virus. The one that people confuse, they think HIV is a virus. It's actually a mycoplasma body with the DNA of the Visna virus, which is mad cow disease. That is HIV. But it's inside of a mycoplasma, which makes it very vulnerable. It's a membrane. Nitrogen can kill HIV, and so can silver.
Okay.
And it's documented that the silver kills HIV. But these doctors think it's a virus. Now, the silver kills some viruses. It'll kill hepatitis. It's pretty potent. But it doesn't work on the prions in the brain for some reason.
So, do people, once they start to heal their bodies, and some people, depending on how sick they are, could take longer or whatnot, do you coach people in their health? What role do you play in helping people? Do you coach people?
I work with people while they're doing it. If they need to call me and work through it, I'll even connect them with the doctor in Alabama. Like the gal that got really sick, went to the hospital. We turned her over to the doctor, and he said, you know, you can't do so much. You got to do it like 2 drops, 3 drops at a time, because she was so sick. She was actually dying. The gal out in Colorado, her name is Sally. Hi, Sally, if you're watching. Sally was down to 80 pounds. She had Lyme and she had Mycoplasma, but she didn't know about Mycoplasma. And she was on her deathbed, and her sister bought her 2 bottles, and she started taking it, and she went through massive kill-off. And now finally her endocrine system's in balance, and she's got rid of the Lyme in 2 treatments. But the mycoplasma's dug in, you know, she lives in that 7,500 feet above sea level in Colorado Springs, and there's less oxygen up there. And I said, you got to get out of that high altitude for a while. That's altitude sickness, is mycoplasma.
Right. So do people do preventative, kind of long-term? How does that generally work?
You can do the silver just to knock out the mycoplasma if you just want to be healthy.
Okay.
Or you can, you know, just as maintenance, or, you know, just to make sure that, and the biggest thing I don't want to give a sex education class, but the worst thing people could do is get well and then go out and have recreational sex. Because then you're going to get sick again. You've got to be either celibate or be monogamous.
That's honest, yeah.
Why is it always the sex that gets taken away from us all the time?
I'm just telling you, like, if you're monogamous and you both get clean, then it's great.
Yeah.
But you gotta just use your common sense. I mean, you will get sick again if you if you're risky.
Do you have recommendations for people that are like addicted to tobacco or chewing tobacco or anything to help them, because that is so addictive?
You know what? I was saying, you might have missed it.
I
What
got
hit-
in late, yeah.
What happens is people who smoke, they don't get cancer because the nicotine patch. The nicotine patch has over 61 phyto-based nitrogen chemicals in it. But once they stop smoking, they're going to get cancer or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So,
okay.
can you just give your
Hold it.
email or website?
She'll give, look, we're gonna take a break for about 10 minutes, before you cut me off. Then when we come back, I'll take 5 minutes, show you, number 34, the Vulcans, from planet Centaur, they're from the 11th dimension. Go ahead and shut it off. Go ahead. Welcome back to UFO Paranormal More. I'm your host, Ray Castelline, and we'll get back with part 2 with Linda in a few minutes. This is the latest star person I met, number 34. The Vulcans from the planet Centaur, they're from the 11th dimension, they're vegetarians. And this is what they look like. They're real dark green, with the pointed ears, brown jumpsuit. They have higher,
Yeah, that's
That
good.
good?
That's good. Yes.
and then they have 4 fingers. They don't have the little finger. Their eyes are slanted way back. They're really human-like. They talk our language perfect. They talk other languages. And the 2 crafts that they fly in is a flying saucer with 3 windows on the top of the dome, and the round metallic with a huge black light cut through the center with white lights. This is at nighttime. These crafts are huge. All the crafts of all 34 that I've met at nighttime, it's just amazing the color, you know, that they in their crafts that they have. But I'm going to meet these guys again. They're friends with the Mole people. You go back to the 1942s, and probably even earlier, with our parents' sci-fi ETs that were in there. And I think these Mole people come from that era. They're good friends with the Vulcans and the giant 6 to 8 feet tall friendly giant bees. And these lion people. So I don't know if there's going to be 35, 36, 37. I don't know where this is going to go for me. I'm very fortunate to meet 34 of these people and have 4 that I call my Fab 4. They're not the Beatles. They've been my friends over 55 years. It's been the greatest education with these people, but when everything happens down here, you're not only going to meet all 34 of these people. They're real, and I know they're real because I met every one personally. But I want to throw a shout out, if it wasn't for her, the great artist, Jeannie Blankenship. I can never show you what these guys look like, because I can't draw, number one. If Jeannie's seen my drawing, don't ever show my drawing.
Stick people.
You know, and I had to search for that, because I was all in this by myself. My late grandfather and father are gone. It was me and God and these guys. So I got her to draw them. People were seeing some of them. Eventually everybody's going to meet them, everybody's going to hug them, take pictures. Plus the other ETs that we don't even know about. And that's when you can take the pictures, hug, go on their crafts, and everything's out in the open. They just won't let you take pictures of them now. The crafts, they don't care how many pictures you take. But these people, especially the ones that are good, he's bringing billions of ETs from all over in this big project that we're going through. And I know the major year for all of us is 2017. We got an election year coming up. The reason I'm saying this part because I got 2 new people that never heard this. Just put it in the back of your head, there might not be an election. This thing's going real fast because this can happen at any time. Okay? And I know a lot of people are ready to go into the new, bigger, better planet Earth as fourth and fifth dimensional crystallized beings from a third core being. A lot of changes in the weather like never before. You got a little taste of it in France, South Carolina, there's other places. Texas had 28 inches of rain. Look what them people went through, okay? And we got major earthquakes coming, but they're gonna make me aware to give you enough time to get it out. Where it's gonna hit, what's gonna happen. Plus you got CERN, you got HARP, they're watching that because they're gonna take them out. You know, most of it's gonna be Mother Earth doing her rumbling, and she has to get her third dimensional core out in order to become the crystallized fourth and fifth planet Earth, bigger, more beautiful planet, right here. There will be no negativity, nothing bad on this planet ever when that happens. The people that are running the show right now, you know, the game's over, they're going to do everything they can. That's what they're trying to do now. And, but I thank God for the people we got backing us up. We're not alone in this no more. We got a great force of powerful, good ETs backing us up right now. Not just my 34, just the ones that he's brought in. You know, there's 50-foot nations, 27 to 30 feet tall whites involved in this. I don't know how high these beings go. That's 2 of them. They're on Mars right now. They kind of can control that because they had a little battle with the 25-foot, two-hearted reptilians. They're no longer up there. So I'm going to pass this around, but I got other copies of this that everybody had one. And now for part 2, the fabulous Linda Emmanuel.
Does anybody have any questions? I got a question how to use the diatomaceous earth and the azomite. I just put them in smoothies. The azomite I just do about a teaspoon. It's the poor man's mineral. The FDA has not approved it for human consumption, but it's totally okay for organic and feeding animals. So use your own.
What is that?
The azomite is pinkish.
Okay.
That's probably white Himalayan pink salt. It's got that. It's azomite is a volcanic eruption and a seabed, and the rock is in Utah. And the story behind it is in the 50s. I can't remember his name, but he heard about the myth of the pink rock, and he took it and had it evaluated by a geologist, and it has every mineral and every element in it to sustain plants in really good health. So he always believed that plants were only as good as the soil. So he started off with tomatoes. And he put the azomite in the tomato garden. Not one parasite was able to gobble the plant because the plant had sufficient nitrogen to put out enough nitrogen. Tomatoes are real high in nitrogen. They're in the nightshade. There's a lot of nitrogen in the plant. You can't really eat a tomato plant because it's kind of deadly. But any insect that would eat on the plant would die. So then he started feeding it to animals. The chicken eggs got harder. Animals, he put them in pastures, and the animals really got healthy. So all the minerals that the human body needs are in seawater. So that azomite is the poor man's mineral source. The diatomaceous earth is called silica dioxide. It's fossilized diatoms from way back, millions of years. And your body needs silica to absorb minerals. Silica is more important in growing bones and collagen and skin. And when after I got well from being sick, I was really crippled. I was needing knee surgery, and my hands were like claws. And I started doing diatomaceous earth, and within a couple months, I no longer needed a knee replacement. I can dance. I was totally okay. I still have limitations with my joints, but I don't have any more pain. So I really recommend diatomaceous earth. You get food grade. You can get it on Amazon. You can usually sometimes get it at a health food store. It's very, very cheap. You want to get food grade. The commercial, what clumps cat litter is diatomaceous earth, but that's a commercial blend. Diatomaceous earth is also used in filtration systems and swimming pools. So you want to make sure you get food grade. If I was gonna do it and you haven't done it before, I would start off kind of slow with like a teaspoon or a tablespoon in a smoothie. I've built up to like, this is my own choice, I've built up to like a 1/4 cup in my smoothie. You might have to add a little bit more liquid, but it's kind of powdery like baby powder. You don't want to get it in your nose or your eyes, you know, but if you put it on your pet, it'll kill fleas and bugs on contact. What it does is diatomaceous earth is like a suction cup. It pulls the moisture out of the chitin and insects, and they use it in granaries. The insect literally falls apart. It'll kill fungus in the blood. It'll pull the moisture out of the fungus. It'll kill that. It will kill parasites. If you can put it in your dog's food, it would really be helpful for your dog. Bloodroot is really good. You can give bloodroot to animals. If they got cancer, animals get mycoplasma infections too. They get diabetes, they get cancer. There is a story in my book about a dog named Augie. Augie had stage 4 cancer. He had a month to live. The guy called me up and he said, "Can you help me?" And he had these big tumors sticking out of his lungs. He had metacarbial lung cancer. And I showed him what the organism looked like, but he says, "Can you help me?" So he went on Carnivora, and you all heard about that, and he went on Diatomaceous earth. He did the rifle machine, a zapper, and he changed the dog's diet. Now dogs are like humans; they need to be alkaline too. And when you grains are really acidic, and when you put your animal on grain-based diet, they're gonna get sick. So he went on a different diet, and he started getting a little better. Then I heard about the bloodroot. I didn't have the silver at the time. I heard about the bloodroot. He got on bloodroot. Then he started really doing good. And about 3 months, he lived 3 months, and then he took him to the vet. The vet said, "What are you doing? Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." Well, the dog lived 11 months, and then the guy called me up, and he said, "Augie's dead." And what happened was the cancer didn't kill him. The organism was dead, but he had these massive tumors, and as they were breaking up, he got a stroke, and he had to be put to sleep. So that's my big concern is when you're breaking the tumors up, you've got to do it slow, and you've got to do something to make sure you don't get clots. You know, to make sure that those tumors are breaking down slow. You don't want to do them where you have big pieces breaking off. You want to be very careful about that, because Augie would have still been alive today if the tumor hadn't been breaking up. And I don't know if you can give dogs aspirin or not, you know, but
Yes, you can.
you can. Yeah, I didn't know
They
that.
get
So,
break it up in half.
and he wasn't doing any enzyme therapy, you know, but he was totally fine, except for the tumors breaking up, and he had a stroke, and his legs were paralyzed, so he had to put him to sleep. But he lived 11 months longer than the vet gave him.
And probably more comfortably too.
Yeah, he was 11 years old too, he was an Australian Shepherd. Yeah, so
I think it's kind of neat that you talk about when it breaks up, it's still in your blood, because the entities a long time ago used to say you could be cured of cancer, but you would still have these things floating around in your blood system that would always be there. Like, I guess there's no way that we have to zap them out or get rid of them.
I think if you're talking about the plaque is protein.
I have no
They
idea
talk
what
about
it is.
fat as plaque. No, plaque is the protein. Remember, every cell in your body is held together with protein.
Mm-hmm.
And the organisms connect with each other with protein, and they adhere to the host with protein. Then they build that shield over themselves, that protein. Cataracts are actually mycoplasma plaque. Cataracts.
Really?
Yeah, they build a film. You can't see through it, you know. Yeah, it's bacterial. Good question.
So would the bloodroot also break up the cataracts and the diabetes?
Well, the cataracts, I would think, remember that's protein. You're going to need some kind of thing that breaks up protein, like papain, P-A-P-A-I-N. It's from the papaya. It's an
Okay.
enzyme. You need something to break up that plaque. Because the blood, unless now your immune system can do it. Build up your immune system. That's another thing you really have to have a good immune system. You know, try not to eat sugar. Sugar slows the immune system down, and it feeds the organism. Yeah.
It's in everything now.
Yeah.
Even canned goods for no reason.
Yeah.
Sugar.
Oh, high fructose corn syrup.
And the diabetes, yeah.
That's mycoplasma.
And the
You can knock
bloodroot.
that out.
All right. Well, what do you think of, not sugar, but stevia?
Stevia is from, remember the dandelion, daisies, chrysanthemums, that all is one family of plants. Stevia is in that family. And
Is that good?
Yeah, chrysanthemums, what do they call that? It kills insects? Pyrethrum. Pyrethrum is from the chrysanthemum plant,
Can't take it.
and it kills insects. So stevia also has been researched, it kills bacteria, is anti-cancer.
Okay, I just heard something about it was too close to sugar, therefore the body recognized, I
No,
don't
I
know,
think,
never mind.
I think stevia is okay. But
Okay.
stevia is in the same family as chrysanthemums and dandelions.
Okay,
Yeah.
What about that GABA?
GABA, I don't know too much about that.
I'm allergic to all of them.
Maybe that's good. I mean, maybe you
Yeah.
won't eat it, yeah. Go ahead, you got a question?
I have a question about the silver, that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember hearing a few years back something about if your body ingests too much silver,
Okay.
it stays in your body forever, your body won't expel it, or
No.
won't expel all of it.
No.
Does your body expel it when you go to the bathroom? or
Most of
whatever?
it, yeah. It'll eliminate through the liver.
So there isn't a
Yeah.
portion that builds up over time that your body
What-
cannot get rid of?
What you want to be careful is ionic silver. Silver, it's missing an electron. It's something, it's not the same as colloidal or mild silver. It'll turn you gray.
Yeah, I've
But
seen
that's
that with
ionic.
people.
And ionic, all colloidal silver has a little ionic, depends how they processed it. It always has a little ionic. But yeah, mild silver protein's in a matrix of protein. It was invented in 1893. You can look it up under Wikipedia, you might want to write this down, Argyrol, Argyrol. Johnson & Johnson used to own the registration, and they abandoned it. And then a woman by the name of Christine, she picked it up. I don't know if she had to buy it or she just picked it up. Now she's going to manufacture it. But you can also find mild silver protein under a Canadian company called Invive, INVIVE. They don't sell as, the stuff we have is close to 20,000 parts per million, and it's nano size. And Invive is only the most days, the highest parts per million is 10,000. But you know what I do? Bacteria can attack your eyes. So if you ever decide to get some silver, just take a drop in a bottle of distilled water and put the drops in your eyes. And that would keep you from getting cataracts or bacteria, because bacteria the macula is made of fat, and the organism needs fat. That's why people get diabetes, that's why people get Alzheimer's, Lou Gehrig's, MS, they're attacking the fat. So you can put the silver in your eyes, but it's got to be very unconcentrated. You know, you got to put one drop in about that much water or something.
And that's why the chiropractor told me to eat a tablespoon of butter to process the sugar, because I don't eat a lot of meat.
Yeah.
That's why.
So is anybody got any more questions?
So you said avoid the silver, what do you call
Ionic,
it?
ionic, yeah.
You want
That's
to-
missing an electron, something like that. It'll turn you
missing an ion
silver.
or something.
And they want to scare you. They try to do smear campaigns on things. They'll tell you, oh, this is dangerous. This doesn't work. There's always these people out there putting bad information. You can go to my website, lindaemanuel.com, and I'll tell you all the protocols. I'm not just telling you to buy mine or this. You can make your own decisions. You can go whatever way you want. I just give you the information, what kills it, if something's better than the other. The two best ones that I recommend are the mild silver protein, and the bloodroot. The nicotine patch, I would never ever put a nicotine patch on a pregnant woman or a child or an animal. I don't know what would happen. Because the nicotine patch, if you wear too much nicotine patch, it can kill you. Well, the nicotine's actually, nicotine is nitrogen. It can be a poison if you have too much. It can kill you. There was a Dateline, one man killed his wife with nicotine poisoning. He distilled the nicotine from cigarettes and killed her.
Well, it's the same thing with a kid eating a cigarette butt.
Yeah. So, is there any other questions?
What about absolute oxygen? I have found that to be really powerful. Have you ever used
Oxygen
that?
kills mycoplasma?
No, it's absolute, it's a tablet. It's
Oh,
called
no.
absolute oxygen.
I
It's
never heard
also-
of it.
comes from Canada.
I have to look it up,
Yeah.
absolute oxygen?
Absolute oxygen.
And what does it entail?
Capsule?
Yeah, it's a capsule. Yeah,
But-
I had skin cancer on my ear for about 3 years. It would come and go, it would heal up and go away, and then I had a biopsy last November, and then I had to wait 2 months to get surgery. And in the meantime, it was really, after they cut that off, it really went crazy. So then he went in 3 times and scraped it off and said, oh, you know, because the whole idea was to get all of it. So he got it all, and it cleared really, healed really fast. But I tend to do that, but then 2 weeks later, it itched and it just went to bleeding, and the cancer just went crazy in my ear. But it was going down inside of my ear canal, and it was going fast. And then I notified a couple of friends of mine, and one recommended green clay, or European clay, and the other one recommended the absolute oxygen, plus some other things. But those are the 2 things I took. And in my ear was so swollen.
I'm gonna research it.
And 3 days, it just came to a screeching halt, and it was completely clear.
Well, oxygen kills it, so maybe it had
Yeah.
something to do with oxygen.
Well, the green clay did a lot too.
And green clay pulls out the
pulls out
pulls out
bacteria.
the toxins, yeah.
Mhm.
On the protocol sheet is a skin cancer treatment that the elite have invented for themselves, and you can get it on the internet, you can get it on Amazon. I can't right now recall the name of it, but it's on the protocol sheet for skin cancer, I think. It's also in my book, and I can't remember the name, something silver, but I don't know the ingredients, and it's kept secret, it's a trade secret. They've invented it for themselves, but it knocks out skin cancer in 1 day. But if the other one does that, that's
Well,
fine.
I mean, it was bad, and in 3 days, it was, and I
Yeah.
only, I made it in a thick paste and put it on there, and it itched
Oh, you
something
actually
horrible.
took the absolute oxygen and put a paste and
Well,
put it on there?
you take 6 capsules in the morning of the absolute oxygen before you eat, and then she told me to take half a capsule of the absolute oxygen, mix with the green clay, mix a little flour on it, and you make a thick paste and
And
stick it on there.
flour?
No, water.
Oh, water, okay.
Yeah, but I put it on for 3 days, and I had an art show that weekend, and
I'm gonna
and it's
research it.
So then I didn't do it on Saturday and Sunday, and then on Sunday, a great big huge scab, and the whole thing just peeled off, and it was all new skin underneath, and
Wow.
that was it.
That's
It was
great.
amazing.
I'm gonna research
Wow.
absolute oxygen.
Absolute
Because I'm writing my
oxygen.
3rd edition right now. I'll put it in there for
Yeah.
people. I like to put stories in the book about people doing, how they're helping people, different products.
Right,
And
right.
I mean, I just try to give people information. Remember, I'm telling you the prophecy, I tell people where to go to be safe, so,
Yeah, yeah.
so thank you for that information.
Yeah, and
I'm
the
gonna
green clay,
research it.
too. The green clay is nothing but green clay from the earth.
It sucks out the
Yeah,
toxins.
It sucks out all kinds of bacteria, so it's good for little places. I mean, I'm not scared of skin cancer anymore.
But there is, I don't know, is it on the protocol sheet about the skin cancer, what I got?
In that pamphlet I gave you.
Does anybody else have a question? Got a question?
You've heard the old expression where they say an aspirin a day keeps the doctor away. And I've heard it for aspirin and apple. And I heard you say something about aspirin earlier because it helps
It helps,
your circulatory
it helps
system.
thin the blood.
Right.
But you have to be careful if you're already on like those thin blood thinners.
Right.
You don't,
What I wanted to know is
I don't know what that-
if there isn't something specifically wrong with you per se, but you just want to do something, like people take 1 a day vitamins or something, is there any kind of a daily regimen?
I would do the Azomite, because that's your poor man's minerals. And I would just eat as close to, I'd stay away from red meat and pork, anything with feathers and fit swims, stay away from GMOs, soy especially and corn especially.
Well, if we can't have pork and chicken and red meat and all this kind of stuff, and we can't have
Why-
sex,
chicken,
what
I
else
think
are we supposed to do?
Well, chicken's, I think, I'm not a vegan, even though I'd like to be, I'm not a vegan.
I thought you said stay away from anything that swims in feathers.
No, I said anything that, I think
bet
swimming
feathers.
in feathers are okay, but that, some people would,
All the good stuff is taken away.
PDQ cream?
yeah, that's it, PDQ cream.
Linda, you want to give people your website?
LindaEmanuel.com. That's EMMANUEL. I have all the protocols on there. I'm going to post all the information I gave everybody. That'll be in a little PDF. I'll give you the link when you're ready, and it'll be on your and then they can look up whatever you have in your hand. That'll, and people feel welcome to email me, or it's Linda J. Emanuel at charter.net if you have questions. I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you what to do. I can guide you where to go and what the best is, but I can't. If you're really, really sick out there, be careful about kill off, because you're going to be really discouraged when you start killing off this organism. You're going to go through some Herxheimer, and that might turn you off. But I would do detoxes to get rid of the toxins, that endotoxins, and positive attitude, good diet, laugh a lot. I laughed all the time when I was sick in bed. I'd laugh, because when you laugh, you're releasing endorphins, and just always think something bad's going to turn something good.
One question I have, and I think probably other people wonder about this too, is, okay, we decide to go through some of these treatments, and then we have our appointment with our normal doctor or specialist, right? Then they have us get blood, we're getting better, and then they have us get a blood test. And if they tell us something where they say, well, you're taking this, you shouldn't do it because it'll cause this, what would you suggest? I know you're not a doctor, but I'm saying, I know part of their motivation you can't trust, but at the same time,
the blood root in the silver should not affect, even if you were doing chemo or high blood pressure, it doesn't affect that at all. It's nitrogen and silver. You can take that even with chemotherapy. I don't like the thought of chemotherapy, what they're doing. As far as like the aspirin, I'd go under your doctor's orders about that, because you don't want your blood to be too thin that you have a bleed out.
yeah.
But you want to use common sense. If you're really, really sick and start doing these protocols, you're going to go through some big Herxheimer.
Yeah.
And you're going to feel lousy before you feel better.
Do you know how long that lasts, or is it different for every person?
This is a great story. When I had my first IV, I went through kill off in about 2 hours. You start going through kill off, and you're kind of, they put a blanket on you, and the best thing to do if you're going to go through kill off, to get a hot shower to raise your temperature so you don't get chills. And then you might get a headache. It just depends upon your body, And then I was like exhausted after it all, and I went back to I was in Alabama, and I went back to the hotel. I went to bed. I slept really good all night, and I woke up. I felt like. And then what's the weirdest thing is, I was crippled. I had to have help pulling up from the bed. And I could put my leg, I had dystonia, I couldn't turn my head. That's mycoplasma. I could put my leg up on the bed, and I could get up on my own, and I felt so good. And then I had a day of rest, and then the day after that was on a Monday, and I went through the Herxheimer on the way home in the car from Birmingham, Alabama. But I was okay. I just kind of was like, but I said, I'll be okay, And then I went to my doctor that week, my rheumatologist, and tested negative for lupus. It was dead. Yeah.
Wow.
So I really recommend, if you're going to try the silver, I really do like the enema approach. I know it's kind of like anal, but but I really do think the colon is, except for if you can't get an IV, and doctors, you can't find doctors with it. There is one in Texas if you're interested in going to Houston, Texas. I won't give their name out. There's a doctor down there doing the IVs, but I will not, they'll have to torture me to get that out of me. But I really do think the colon is the best way to absorb it. Does anybody think not? But
Well, how much, what's the formula for that?
I have the protocol. You start off with 20 drops of that bottle. Did you see the little bottle I was passing around? And remember, it's 20,000 parts per million. Usually the silver you buy in the store is like 10 parts per million, but this is 20,000 parts per million, between 16 and you do 20 drops.
You might
And,
say where you get it from,
What?
where you get it from.
I get it from the doctor that got me well.
But I mean, he gets it from
He gets it. He got
From
his from Germany.
Germany.
Germany's real big on silver. In fact, it's standard protocol in the Philippines to do silver. Standard protocol. In a third world country, is Philippines third world?
Wow.
very.
But then you rest a day. But you could do it day after day. Then you rest a day, and then you do 40 drops. Then you rest a day and do 60 thereafter. And there's 8 treatments in one bottle of ½ ounce. And it's pretty potent. Like Sally out in Colorado Springs, she can only do 3 drops, and she goes through some big kill-off. The gal that was really sick that came into my talk, she could only do 3 drops because she was so sick. She went through kill-off, and the kill-off, she said, was worse than being sick. But eventually, the kill-off's not going to, when you don't have any more kill-off, it's gone.
Okay.
It'll just pass right through your body and you won't have any reaction. That's how you know you're well, when you have no more kill-off.
But do you still have some of the stuff, like she was saying, the dead particles
No,
circulating around your bloodstream?
the liver just expels it. And you want to drink a lot of distilled water. Distilled water is real good to drink with the silver because it's distilled water is no minerals, and the silver, I believe, is alkaline. So you don't want, remember, alkaline and acid minerals bind, so you don't want the silver to be deactivated. So I tell people to drink distilled water after,
Now,
but
you're also gonna have to, if you're diabetic, you're gonna have to keep track of your blood sugars.
that's right, there's somebody out in Wright City. I said, you've got to monitor your sugar because when your pancreas starts turning on, you don't want to have too much insulin.
Exactly.
So you really, diabetics usually monitor their insulin,
Yeah,
don't
like
you?
I do it three times a day,
Mhm.
and I'm on a graduated insulin now. I had a kidney infection 2-3 months ago. Landed me in the hospital. I almost died, and I had diabetes before, but I was only on oil, and that traumatic event triggered
Trauma.
me into insulin. So my body just couldn't handle it
Because the
anymore.
mycoplasma
Just huge.
trauma,
Yeah.
it got it more aggressive.
My blood sugars went up to 400, and they were reading me rates in
Oh my
the
gosh.
ER. Yeah,
So you have to really monitor yourself when your pancreas starts working.
yeah.
You've got to make sure you don't have too much insulin. Because people have gotten well from diabetes because it's mycoplasma. It's just uptaking your cholesterol, and so is the arthritis, so is lupus. It's all the same organism,
Yeah.
but just different names. And they usually spread, just metastasizes here and there. Yeah.
I know there was one point where I had glaucoma up in Canada, and I started taking this supplement, and I took it for 6 months, and the doctor, he had to test it. He had to test my eyes like 3 times. He says, "You don't have glaucoma anymore. That's impossible."
What did you
have to
take?
I gotta try and remember what it was. It had to do with the blueberries.
Okay.
It had to do with blueberries.
I put the silver in my eyes. Just 1 drop, a
Right,
couple drops, but it's diluted.
right, yeah.
And I used to not be able to read size 12 font, but now I can. But I have what you call Best syndrome. It's sort of like macular degeneration. I was born with it. It's genetic weakness, and that the macula is made of fat, and something's attacking the macula,
Right.
and mycoplasma needs fat. So I've been doing the drops in my eyes twice a day. And like I said, I can read 12 font now. I don't know if you know what 12 font is, like a book.
Yeah,
And I couldn't read that without a magnifying glass before, with my glasses on. I wear contacts right now. Yeah, so I recommend the silver won't hurt your eyes. But you want to dilute it, you don't want to put super strong.
You
'cause
said like 1 drop in a glass of water, and then what kind of water? Distilled water?
Distilled,
Oh,
yeah. Like you can
absolutely.
take it and use it as say you have, there's a gal that got 4 implants. Her name is Sheila. And this doctor wanted to make her get on this Colgate stuff, and she refused. So she took the silver, she put 1 drop in the water, she swished her mouth 4 times a day. She has no infection, it healed really fast. And that was cool. So she used it. It's silver's an antibiotic.
right. They
It's a
use
natural antibiotic.
Yeah, they use it in dressings in hospitals and whatnot. It's just
But the
amazing.
SorBAC, but when you use the silver, all that dead bacteria doesn't, the wound won't heal, so that SorBAC, SorBACT, that actually draws the bacteria away from the wound so it can heal. So yeah, there's silverdine and all that, that kills the bacteria, but
They use that with burns.
they use what?
The silver stuff, they put it in burn cream. They used to manufacture that.
Yeah.
I wish I could remember the formula.
Listen, it's an honor and pleasure to have
Yeah,
you
thank
here.
you.
This gal's come a long way. Would you guys like to have her back sometime?
Yes.
Okay, next month, Dr. Sam Muggsy, which is my birthday, and I forget about that, but anyway, it falls on my birthday. And that's going to be awesome. She'll be on Skype.
Oh, good.
Okay. And then January 1, Gina Kim, South Korea. They do a magazine and something else she's doing with me. She interviews me every time I talk to her for the people in Korea, which that's where I did part of my stitch back in 67, 69. And I got Larry Hurst, Oregon. He's a healer. He was in Mount Shasta. And let's see, February, March. Oh, I got Sandy Tripp, who's a contactee. You guys are going to like her. The gal that interviewed me, Elena Kapuckney, probably in June or July. And that one's the 25th. I just did on Sunday, October 25th. That's a pretty damn good show there.
What?
And I show all my drawings on there.
My friend wants
But it's always the first Monday of the month.
to do it.
You guys are always welcome to come.
Tell your friends.
Tell your friends. I thought somebody said so. That's it. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, Ray.